So, hey, Steven, thanks for joining me today on my episode of Composer Talk. This is Steven McDonald. He's a guy that I've met through my the VI Control Discord channel. He's a composer. He makes it a living full time. He mostly does trailer music, right? I'm correct on that?
That's my favorite kind to write, but the things that actually pay the bills right now is just TV music, like underscore for a lot of reality TV and
Great.
stuff.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
More quantity over quality type stuff.
Right, yes. Yeah, that's something I'm trying to get myself into as well. I'll try to, write for TV, stuff like that, and, kind of library music, right? That's what you kind of predominantly do?
Yeah, library music is what is the thing. I mean, I didn't think that was going to be where I ended up, but then that's just kind of by happenstance I ended up doing it. Right. And I like it this way, though. Like, I want it to be my original goal was to be the composer of the next Halo game, and just games in general. But I really like doing the library stuff. It works out for me, my lifestyle. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because it's always like we set out a goal as a composer. Well, I want to be this guy, but it always seems to kind of veer off into another direction that you never thought about or never thought could be possible. And then here you are, you're like, wow, I didn't know I could do something like this. And that's what I'm finding with talking with all these composers is, they had like set expectations, but then I'm finding out there's like other ways to make money or a living being a composer. You don't have to be just a film composer or just like a rock guy. I mean, there's so many different avenues, like with being a trailer guy, doing movies, doing TV, and now video games, and it's crazy. So I use these as a learning experience myself to find out ways that I can make an income or, look at different ways too. So that's very cool.
Yeah. I think it's because in order to get into where you're making a living, I mean, it sucks to say this for some people, but it is largely luck and things, circumstances that you can't control.
Right.
So that's why people will have a goal and then end up something completely different would happen. Like, I mean, I can tell you the way I got started in library music was I was just uploading music to YouTube for free. I was just a nerd. Like I would write like when Halo 5 was about to come out, and I would write like Halo 5 fan-made soundtrack, just related to Halo, because then I could put a picture of Master Chief as the video, and it would get a lot of views, and just that kind of stuff. And I was like, maybe 343 Industries will hire me one day.
Right.
But then what ended up happening is I got an email one day from a music coordinator for a little TV-focused library company that does for a lot of reality TV. He just said he was on YouTube just looking for inspiration, stumbled on my music, and they happened to be looking for a composer at the time. And he asked me to join their team, and I was like, I have no idea what any of this is. I had to research it and talk to the guy on the phone. He was super nice, very cool. He's still the person I work with the most. And then I just kind of willingly volunteered myself, threw myself into the fire to write like 5 tracks a week, even though before I was writing like a track every 2 weeks. I had a full-time job and everything. I was in college when I started too. So I was just like, okay, I'll try this, and just started writing a whole bunch of music. It was really bad at first. And like, I mean, they were definitely taking a chance on me, having me join. But like that was luck, the fact that that guy happened to find me and asked me to join their team. But It was also, I could have also just completely failed, or I could have been scared and been like, oh, I don't want to try to do that. But,
at least you tried, and that's the thing. You got to take a risk. And everybody, when we start out, or our music sucks. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Some people, they're just blessed. I mean, they can just get into it and, 2-6 months later, they're like, bam, they got it. And some of us, we have to work really, really, really hard, to get there. And, but if you never try, or if you never put it out there, you never share your music, you're never going to know. Cause you never know. Like one thing I've realized just in general, cause I freelance, I don't do freelancing music right now. I'm doing what I used to do in my day job. So, cause I got laid off in October. So, a lot of life things happened to me. And, so I'm trying to, but it's all the same, basically it's who you know and how you know them, your relationship, and if they trust you. And like you said, he gave you a risk, and then you delivered, and bam, he's like one of your best clients, right? You've had for years. So, and then you grow in that relationship. So that, for me, finding work or stuff like that is luck, definitely luck. And when someone takes a risk or a chance on you, just make sure you go above and beyond, prove to them, and always deliver earlier than they want it. That always is huge too. And then usually you forge a good relationship, and you just never know where that can take you. And that's one of my things about, like, if you want to get into film music, everybody's like, where do you go? How do you get started? You know, I say start locally, find a filmmaker, and just start working with them, because you never know where their career could go either, or who they know and who they could refer you to. So it's all about building those relationships, I think, for me.
Yeah,
Is that how it's been your experience?
For the most part, I don't get a lot of, like, I don't do a lot of freelance work now. It's mostly just delivering music to libraries on a regular basis,
right.
Like writing somewhere between like 300 to 500 tracks a year.
Wow.
And I've been doing that for like three years now.
Does it get easier?
Yeah, actually, it's like, honestly, sometimes the hardest part is just coming up with new names for tracks,
right?
Like new track titles. But the guy that reached out to me on YouTube at first, I mean, like, he's not only like my main source of work and income, like he does a really good job. He's a music coordinator. He goes to meetings with showrunners and editors and stuff, and he's really good at translating what they say, what they want, they think they want, to the composers like me. Like, he's really good at, you know, like the last brief I just worked on, it was comedy music but they were being really picky because they wanted no tension whatsoever. Oh. And he knows enough about music to say, like, he specifically was like, I know a lot of times you guys put little chromatic licks and kind of off-key notes in your comedy to make it sound awkward, but that's coming across as tension to them. So that guy's really great at that. And now he's a good friend of mine too. I mean, we're not just business emailing each other. Like, we'll text each other like, oh, did you check out that new Spitfire library? Because he's a Spitfire fanboy.
Okay.
You know, just and I just try to do that with every music coordinator, music supervisor I've worked with. Yep. Is to try to be, I mean, that's just be cool, be relatable,
be friendly,
be
and
interesting to talk to,
someone to work with, someone a pleasure to work with. That's what I found out is if you be nice, they'll throw work at you all the time because they want to work with you, and they know, hey, if I reach out to Steven, I know he's not going to be giving me a hard time. He's just going to buckle down, do it, and probably deliver it, you know, on the first try or second try, and I don't have to worry. You know, if they have to worry about what you're going to do, you're not going to last very long, you know? So, and it's a lot of hard work, man. I mean, I know just for me freelancing, and tight deadlines are crazy. And I definitely see that just being like a music person and being on a tight deadline for me would probably make me write a lot faster and a lot better, which I'm not under the gun right now. So that's one thing I recommend to people is create a due date, you know, just give yourself a due date and try to stick to it. Maybe have your wife or your girlfriend or brother, whatever, somebody that you know, be your boss and say, hey, let me know that my due date is next week, and, you know, be on my butt, you know, ride me. So, because you got to get used to that, right? Because like you said, you write how many tracks a week? 3 to 5?
5 at most. 5 minimum.
That's crazy. I don't think I could do minimum. That. I mean, it depends on what kind of tracks we're talking here. I mean, are these like they're library? So I mean, it's work. I mean, don't get me wrong, but we're not doing a John Williams, you know, like freaking orchestration. But still, 5 tracks a week. That's a lot.
The way I'm able to manage that is, I mean, it depends. It depends on the genre. Like, I have a video up on my YouTube channel of me like a live composing session, writing one track. Start to finish in an hour.
I think I've watched that. Yeah, I've watched it. I subscribe to your channel, so I've watched it.
Cool. I need to make more stuff, but I don't have time right now.
I understand that.
You know, it really changes on the genre, and like I've been writing these like sci-fi kind of really modern like avant-garde tracks for a History Channel show for like months now. Cool. Just like batch after batch of these tracks, and it gets easier. And you know, there is a lot of using presets or dragging in loops from Splice or like, you know, loop just from context libraries that have loops. That's something you have to like. At first, I was like, ugh.
You got to get over that, right? Then, that's what I've heard from guys. Fine. Yeah, it's like, okay. It's okay.
The only people that usually notice that are
beginners, people
like us, or no, I mean people that notice it.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I've heard the same Storm Drum or like Evolve Mutations on TV and stuff on multiple, or like in a Call of Duty game and in a Halo game, you know. But that's just me.
Like Vocalese, I've heard that all over the place. Vocalese,
that's something that it feels wrong at first, but then you ultimately get over it, and it's like, oh well, this way I can write my 5 tracks per week.
Right. And, do you want to eat this week or not? You know, basically like thinking about it. Pay the bills.
Oh, man. It's not weekly though. It's like I get a paycheck once 4 times a year.
Right.
Like,
I get that, man. Because like being a freelancer, I don't get paid until the project's finished. And you're just like, man, like that's a long stretch, So you got to, like you said, build up the clientele and hopefully got projects, that are staggering.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I recommend new people starting out that you probably won't know is usually you don't get paid right away. So make sure you have don't just quit your day job and think that, you're going to be all good. Make sure you have backup plans.
Yeah. And I can say that in my case, doing the library thing, at least the majority of the time for TV stuff nowadays, it sucks. But nowadays, like you don't get paid up front for a track. You're only getting paid royalties if the track gets used.
Okay.
And royalties from the date that something, so to say, like an episode of TV airs and it has a minute of my music in it, that will get processed. It takes about 9 months to process.
Okay.
And then, so usually, basically, like it's like a year from when the thing airs to when you get paid for it.
Wow.
So that first year, I was writing 5 tracks a week, made no money because I was waiting for everything to get caught up.
Yeah.
And then I first check, and their checks every quarter, and it was like $250, and I was just like, oh my god.
Oh my god, what did I do?
That's a quarter's worth of work.
Yeah, what did I do?
but then like the next one was 2,000.
Nice.
I was like, okay, all right, starting to and then they kind of
keep going up and up and
like,
up. Yeah.
Not constant up, but an overall trend of up. So you get like up down.
Right.
Up more, up,
Yeah, I'm starting to understand that. Like I said, I've been doing this freelance thing for 6 months, and it's a roller coaster ride, man. I mean, and that's another thing. If you're really thinking about going full fledged into music, make sure you can handle that. Because most people, like you had a day job, I had a day job, and it's like you get used to that. Oh, I get a check every 2 weeks, and you get comfortable. But now it's like that's not how it works. So like you said, you get paid 4 times a year, and that's it. So you need to learn how to manage money. And, you know what I mean? Make sure you have a backup plan, and make sure you have a wife or girlfriend that works. That's stable. Yeah, that works. It has insurance.
I mean, that sounds shallow, but it is really a big thing. I mean, like having a spouse or someone in your life that really supports you is like
it's huge.
My wife was like, she wanted nothing more than for me to quit my job because I was working before as a graphic designer at this little firm, little web design firm, and I absolutely hated it.
Right.
And I was just like
your wife probably notices your mood change, like you're a lot happier and like, you know what I mean? You get stressed, but like, it's not like you were before. I've noticed that with myself in the last 6 months. I just feel more confident and I feel like I want to go out and do more things. And, working for yourself kind of lets you do that, hey, I'm going to try a little different projects, and see what goes on. So I get that. And totally like you see a change, the longer you do it. So.
Yeah. And once I finally was able to once I was able to quit, I still had to get a part-time job.
Right.
I quit from full-time, went to a part-time job, and had that job for almost 2 years before I finally quit that one back in January of this year, actually. So awesome. 4 months ago.
Congrats,
and,
man.
Oh, thank you. It was really, it was a big moment. And
yeah,
it was largely thanks to my wife who had a full-time job, not even like a good paying one, but she was bringing in a check every 2 weeks. And
that's awesome.
That made the difference for us. And then we had a baby actually last year too, which is like, whoa.
Yeah,
so
crank it even more, right?
Yeah.
The pressure.
Well, that was one thing that I'm glad I got used to writing really fast, because now it's like, okay, she's taking a nap, I can work now.
Yep.
Because I'm also playing the role, like my wife just got a new job last week, actually just started a new job last week. That's actually full time. Before it was like she was working from home part time.
Okay.
But now she's at the office full time. So I'm playing the role of full time dad and composer when she's asleep, or like right now when she's she goes to daycare for like 8 hours a week total. So it's like sometimes I just have like a marathon day, and while she's at daycare and taking her nap, I can write 5 tracks in that one day.
Nice.
And it sucks, but
but you do it.
Then it's
because I know I have 2 kids myself, so I know the feeling. Like before I had kids, I was like, I could go in my little studio thing and work for 4 or 5 hours a night every night, and once I had children, it was just like, phew. So it's learning to use, hey, they're going down for an hour, and utilizing your time. And like you said, getting quick, composing fast is key for being a professional. I've noticed like a lot of guys are just like, they whip tracks out like that. Like you said, 5 tracks in one day. I don't think I could even do that. I mean, I guess if I really push myself. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, you're grabbing some loops there. You're grabbing some presets. Like, I don't care. We're just getting this track out the door.
Really praying that the music is like ambient Yeah. something very,
right.
something less labor intensive.
Yeah, not very complex. Just kind of what underscore, I guess you could say. More underscore. Yeah.
Everything I'm doing is underscore.
Right.
That's to an extent. There for with the TV stuff, the reality TV stuff. That was something I learned early on, which is what was able to what helped me with getting my 5 tracks a week. Was realizing that this stuff is going to be really low volume, and underneath dialogue of some dumb TV show. And also they American TV shows move so fast.
Yep.
The placements are usually 10 to 20 seconds of the music at a time. So it's a track is a minute to a minute and a half.
Okay.
And then very rarely have I ever had a full track get used start to finish. They're always just cutting it, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. So when I learned that, I don't want to devalue what I do. I mean, I still put in the effort. Nowadays, especially back 3 years ago when I first started, if I go back and listen to that stuff I was putting out then, I'm just oh God, I can't believe I sent that to somebody. But the second track I ever wrote for the TV stuff back then, I still see it pop up and get used all the time.
That's awesome.
It's just people, in the right circumstances, a mix doesn't have to be really great.
Right.
It has to be good enough, passable. They, because they need a lot. These shows are an hour long. They need a lot of music, and they will use things that, to me, I'm embarrassed of. But that those will be these tracks that I wrote and sent off and thought nothing of, and that being a big money maker. Oh, they're using that one a lot. So that was one of the biggest parts of getting this career going, was learning to just let go.
Let go of that creative.
I can't afford to spend any more time on this track. Based on how many I have to write. Go.
Understood.
Send it off.
Yeah.
So.
I totally get that. Do you find yourself, with that being said, that you have side projects that kind of fill that for you? Do you do that, or are you just kind of this is what it is and kind of?
You mean feel the need to?
To be creative.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I every once in a while. Last year I scored a video game. Over a year ago. It's still not out yet. They actually came back to me saying they wanted some more music, but then they've been really slow to respond. I also did a short film around the same time last year, which was somebody who, again, found me on YouTube and liked my music. And then he went to film school, and for his thesis project, he emailed me, asked if I wanted to score it.
Cool.
Really good guy, great to work with.
Yeah.
So I occasionally I do little gigs like that are more, more detail oriented and less speed.
Fill that void of that creativity.
Yeah. And just this past year or so, I've started working with more publishers who are more, more selective and more quality focused. Right. So I'm still always doing my 5 tracks a week for the TV stuff, but then I'll send some tracks to other publishers. I'll send, I've been doing the trailer music, which is a lot more production intensive.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's 1 or 2 days worth of work versus a couple hours. And those, I'm waiting for those to pay off still. I haven't been doing it long enough. I've seen one little sound design placement, and right now I'm waiting for confirmation for an Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer.
Oh, cool.
Apparently that I learned earlier last week that the publisher sent out a quote for using that track. So I'm waiting. I'm on YouTube searching Ant-Man and the Wasp new TV spots, watching to see if one comes out with my music. That's usually how I find out. That's
cool.
The trailer will come out and I'll hear it before they actually confirm anything and pay up and stuff.
So how does that feel to know that your music's being used on a trailer on legit, TV or?
It's really cool. That's the stuff that I'm generally more proud of. People ask me what I do for a living, and I'm like, I write music for Real Housewives of Orange County, or it's a weird thing to tell people, and it's a really, sometimes it strikes up some interesting conversations, but most of the time I'm I say I write music for a lot of TV shows that I don't watch, but then occasionally I get cool stuff like a History Channel documentary series, or cool. some cool new Discovery show that I take the good with the bad, the cool with the uncool.
Do you find that those crappy shows pay better, or no?
Yeah,
they do. That's what I thought, because the audience is bigger, right? Usually,
and it depends on the channel. For broadcast royalties, it all depends on the channel that that it airs on. I did a whole bunch of music for The Prophet on CNBC, and then the royalties were terrible on CNBC. But then Bravo and MTV.
Yeah.
Those are big royalties, big money royalties, and even like Lifetime is pretty good.
Okay.
History Channel does good royalties, which I don't get as many history opportunities, but I've been working on one a lot this year, so
that's
hopefully
good.
that'll pay off more. But yeah, it all depends on the network, the channel.
Okay.
And then like network, non-cable stuff like ABC, NBC, Fox pays way more than all the cable stuff. So
like HBO and stuff like that. I bet you that's hard to get on HBO or Showtime. Are those different?
I don't. My logic since HBO, I don't know for sure. I've never had any HBO stuff, but just like in my head, I'm thinking, well, HBO is like a paid channel.
Yeah.
So it would have a lot less viewers.
Right.
So that would make me think the royalties are lower, but I'm actually not sure. I'd have to.
I would think maybe they have in-house maybe they go to like certain composers or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, for like drama shows, you know,
like
your Game of Thrones or something. Right. Yeah, those will have composers. Occasionally, some drama shows will license music like songs and stuff. But
yeah,
for the underscore stuff I do it just fits most in reality TV or unscripted as they call it.
Cool.
So.
That's cool. I mean, just from listening to like your story and stuff, it's very interesting. Like, and I know like you just got started. Like, how did you first start? Like, what would you do? Did you just like go to the agency? I know the guy reached out to you, so kind of worked it out for you. It's like that kind of jump started it for you. But let's say, okay, you did that. Now, how did you go to your second client? Or you just reached out, or did they find you?
I just started reaching out for the most part. I mean, I feel like that's something a lot of people are afraid to do. I see on the Discord server where we chat sometimes, there's a lot of people like, how would I go about contacting a publisher? I'm just like, just contact the publisher. I mean,
I found that out. It's like, what are they going to say? No, I mean, that's the worst that's going to happen to you, And
that has happened many times with me. Like some of the publishers I work with now, like it took me months of like multiple attempts to get in, to impress enough. And it's just like every few months or so, I'll get my best tracks, my best music, and make a little SoundCloud private playlist and send it, introduce myself and send that link to the publishers I want to get with.
Okay.
And that worked for most of them. I've had one other publisher come to me since then, but still the vast majority of my money is coming from that first one, just because I've been working with them for 3 years.
Right. So how many tracks do you prepare when you send over? Like of different varieties, or you try to get it like they're all kind of similar? I've heard different ways that people do this. I was just curious your approach.
There are different approaches. Most of the time, a lot of them will say on their website, like, if you're a composer, just send us a streaming link and it seems like most of them say 3 to 5 tracks. 3 to 5. So just a short little, nothing, because these people are getting bombarded with
right. Yeah, you can only imagine.
Emails like every day. Yeah, they don't want to sit there and listen to
30 tracks,
1 hour long album. Right. They want to listen to but your best and most relevant music.
Okay.
And I try to, if I'm sending to a trailer music library, I'm going to send trailer music. If I'm sending to a you got to look at the clients that a library, a publisher has. Like, look at their placements, look at their client, see what kind of stuff they do, listen to some of their music, and then tailor a playlist that makes sense for their catalog.
For what they're looking for. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So like your best, if they do if they're specializing in hip hop, get your best hip hop tracks and get them that link. So.
Okay. And you typically, like you said, you write about 1 to 2 minutes for television. That's about traditionally what they want.
Yeah, about a minute to a minute and a half for the large volume tracks. Okay. Some of the publishers I work with will specify, like on their different albums or their different briefs, like these should be around 2 minutes. These should be a minute.
Right.
So it varies, but as long as you go over a minute, like that's perfectly usable in TV, because like I said, they're using just like 10 or 20 seconds of it most of the time.
Yeah. They'd be lucky if they use the whole thing.
Yeah. That's
so if they use the whole thing, you get more royalties, right?
Yeah, it's based on the amount of time.
That's played.
So like it's overall, like a channel will pay a certain amount of royalties per minute. Okay. Basically, and each channel has their own rates, and that adds up. If you have like 15 10-second placements in an episode of something, then that adds up. So
cool. That's so
how
weird.
It works in the broadcast world. It is weird.
Yeah.
And it's always funny trying to explain it to people who don't know the industry, or just like a family member I haven't seen in a while. Like, hey, what are you doing these days? Well, I write music, send it off to people for free, and then a year later, I might get money.
I might get money.
And I don't know how much money I'm going to get until like the deposit is in my account. So it's just, those
when it's
4
legitly
dates,
there, it's like, oh, I got paid.
those 4 dates per year, like the royalty payment dates, are like the week before it's bad. I mean, I like lose sleep. I get what I call royalty anxiety, because I'm like, okay, this is this is going to be 3 months worth of work. I hope this is enough, because I've had some that were really disappointing, and then I've had some that just skyrocketed
Blew
way
your
up.
mind. Yeah.
I mean, overall, when you think about TV, they should be trending upward for a while, because say, you get a placement, that episode airs like 15 times or so, and then, it reruns, then it gets put on like Netflix, or it starts playing in a different country or something, and those placements will keep making money for a while. So the more tracks I get out there, the more likely it is that my music gets picked. And then, once the track gets used, it's not exclusive to that show. Like, so I've had the same track used in lots of different shows.
That's cool.
So the more music you get out there, the royalties should just start to snowball, which they have. The overall trend has been up and snowballing up as they've spread out through the world. And I started getting international royalties, which take like a year longer than regular royalties, depending on where your PRO is.
So yeah, after being in it for 3 years, you're finally starting to see the payoffs that you put in the first 3 years. And eventually, once you're 5-10 years in, you're just kind of, all these things are kind of just going to roll in, over time. So, and
that's one thing that's cool. Why I like this goes into why I like this compared to doing video games or films or other work for hire stuff, is because it really does. I don't want to call it passive income, because that sounds like I'm not doing anything, but you generate a big safety net. Like, if I took a vacation next week, like, it wouldn't affect anything likely. I mean, if it did affect something, it would be really minuscule, and like a year from now. It's like you get a big, it's just like a safety net of royalties that are always coming in, and these tracks will keep making money for years, ideally. And this way, it's like I sign one contract with the library, and then just make a bunch of music for a long time. No real deadlines, but occasionally there are custom work things where you have deadlines, custom jobs. But the majority of it is just like, hey, we have a show that's over the next few months, that's being edited over the next few months, and they need more of these kinds of tracks. So I'll just write that kind for a while. And they tell me we get specific shows asking for specific things. Sometimes those have short deadlines, but generally it's a family friendly, I would call it a family friendly occupation.
Cool.
Because it gives me the flexibility, without so many deadlines. It's okay that I can only work when the baby's asleep, or it just, I don't make as much money as some composers, but I have a lot of family time, and that's what matters. That's more
valuable than money. You can't, because as as being a father, your kids, it goes fast. They grow up very fast. So if you've missed that, you'll never get it back. So that's in the long run, it's you're gonna feel better about yourself, because like, hey, I was there for my daughter, or my son, or whatever. I saw them grow up. I was there. They know their dad. They didn't know their dad is, oh, he was that guy locked away for 50 years or 15 years of my life. I don't even know who he is. So that's what I found too. Being a freelancer, it's let me set my own schedule and be around my kids. I work from home, and it's great. You get to be there for them, and just the thought of going back to an office, it's like, oh my God. It's cool. I don't think I could do it. Well, I'm doing a contract right now that I actually have to go into an office, and I don't know. I'm like, I can't do this. But I just got slammed with a bunch of work. This is what happened. Like, I was like, my February and March and April were kind of like, oh my God. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this freelancer thing. It's not going to happen for me. And then I started getting some work, and about 2 weeks ago, boom, like 4 projects just like slammed me. And I forgot I agreed to this contract position that I did in like February, because I was like desperate. I was like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. But it's not starting until May. Okay, great. And I totally forgot about it. Sorry. I totally forgot about it. And like a week before, they sent me an email. Oh yeah, next week you're starting the contract. I was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden, like, all this work just came my way, and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I'm in a pinch right now, and I haven't wrote any music in like 3 weeks, man. It's just been, because I'm like when you start a business, as you know, it's very tough. It's a lot of work, and you're going to eat, crap for a while. It's not like it's just beautiful. Like you said, you're 3 years in, and you're now finally starting to I'm starting to reap the rewards of what I put in, the last 3 years. So I think the moral of everything that we're talking about is patience, man. You got to have patience in a career like this, definitely. So,
and that is like one of my weakest characteristics.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like I am one of the least patient people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So like back when I first started doing this, like I can't believe I stuck with it after the music coordinator that I work with, he told me that like the majority of composers that try doing this don't make it past the first year because you don't get any money.
Right.
Like the royalties have to build up and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I pushed through that because I hated my job that much.
Yep.
I
get it, man.
It's worth it. Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like I'm never going back. Like I made that commitment. I think it was in December. It was like 2 months after I got laid off. I was like, I'm just gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do. I got one big project in December and through January, and I was like, okay, cool. If I could just land 6 or 7 of these a year, I'm good. Like everything's cool. But when you first start out, like if you've been in that workforce world, which you have and I have, you feel like you're not doing something. You're like, I need to be doing something. It's a total life transition. It takes some time to like really adjust and feel like you're not a bum. Because, like you said, when you tell people you write music, I can only imagine the looks on their face. Like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, but as we know, it's like, it's legit. You can make a living and a decent one, and you don't have to be famous. And that's the whole essence of my channel. It's like, I try to unveil that and say, look, there's guys out here making a living. Yeah, they're not millionaires, but you don't have to be. And it's possible. Anybody can do it, You just got to put in the work and time.
That's my biggest goal is just like, I'm not ambitious, really. Like I would some cool high profile trailer placements. That's about the most fame I ever want to see. Like I just want to be able to do my thing, do what I love doing, spend time with my wife and daughter and my dog, and
be comfortable.
Be comfortable. Be fine. Like I live in a small house. I'm in a suburb where out in the Midwest in Oklahoma, where it's very cheap to live here.
Yep.
So that's another part. Like I made $10,000 the first year I finally made money. I made $10,000 that year, which is that's nothing.
Yeah, but still, hey man, you made money from making music.
I helped. I helped, and my wife out earned me. Well, I had a part-time job that first year too, so I think I barely out earned my wife a little bit that year. But then, she wasn't making much money either though, and we just don't need that much. Like we don't have any expensive habits. Like neither of us drink alcohol. We don't really go out much. We're like a Netflix, Hulu, chilling out kind of people. Yeah, we're
same way. Yeah, I mean,
video games and stuff.
My problem is like when you live at a certain level, like when I had my job, and then you go to like nothing. It's like hard to get back there. But like college debt, stuff like that stuff. Which so I guess some advice for some new guys if they're thinking about getting into this, make sure when you do make the plunge full time, make sure you got your debt, make sure you got your living expenses down so you don't have to work so hard. Because if you have to come up with $100,000 a year, it's going to take you a few years. I mean, maybe even longer. I don't even know. I mean, I'm not going to ask, numbers for you, but like, I bet you that first year you made 10,000. I bet you now you're making maybe double. I mean, you're not rolling in the cash like Scrooge McDuck, but you're comfortable.
I can tell you like, the first year I made $10,000. Second year I made 30.
Okay.
And now this is my third year. Well, this is my fourth year of writing music. My third year of making money.
Getting a paycheck.
And I'm set to pass that
Nice.
Pass that 30 easily.
That's
I
awesome.
don't know where it'll end up. But we don't need much out here.
Yeah,
and
right.
As long as that number stays somewhat steady. And, and I'm still constantly feeding the machine. Like I've written more music this year than ever.
That's awesome.
By this time in the year, because now I don't have a job to worry about anymore. It's just
you could focus, and now that you've done it so many times, it's kind of you've exercised that muscle, and it's just kind of it's a switch, man. Once you sit down in that chair, I bet you it just happens.
Yep. And, this is kind of a like it's I don't want to. I struggle to say stuff like this, but I don't want to sound like what I do is incredibly easy.
Yeah.
But I'm used to it now. Like the idea of writing multiple tracks per day. Right. Days in a row is like, that's, okay.
It's like a formula, but I mean, of course you have to be creative and stuff. And I mean, but once you've done it 100, if you write 500 tracks a year, I mean, or how many you said?
300 to 500.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it'll take 3 years, that's like over 1,500, 2,000 tracks you've written. So, it starts to become a process. And, that's why I asked you if you have anything outside of it, to fill that creativeness. And you do films and video games and stuff like that.
And
Those are
very, occasionally. And
yeah.
I still like, music was my hobby
Yep.
before, and now it's my career. So I've started picking up, more other things to do in my free time, more hobby type things. Like I've been a little more into fitness, doing like obstacle course racing and stuff like that.
Cool.
Stuff that's, stuff that gets me out. Yep. And I can tell you one thing, like it's hard sometimes, like you said earlier, you feel like a bum.
Yeah.
And like, I know I'm a very like productivity oriented person. Like I will get mad at myself and feel guilty if I know I'm wasting time, which that's something I have to like, I have to get better at relaxing. Sometimes I struggle with that a little bit.
Me too.
I like when on Tuesday and Wednesday, my daughter's at daycare for 4 hours. And like yesterday I wrote music for like 3 of those hours. And then I went and played a video game for an hour. It's like, it's a struggle with myself. Cause I'm like, I could be working right now. I'm sitting there
making more money.
I could be making more, but like I have to pull it back sometimes and just learn to relax. Work. My wife's always telling me like, yeah, go play a game. Yeah. I could go on for years about her. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But she's, always encouraging me and wanting me to be comfortable, but also pushing me to
get better.
And never give up.
Yep.
She would never let me give up, and like she would do anything to keep me from having to go back to a regular old job.
That's awesome. So you got to have support, man. Like that's to be successful. I think it's a combination of all that. Like I said, well, first you got to know how to write music. But I mean, really, do you? I mean, like you've there's people out there making great money that like they're not the best composer in the world, but they're effective. They listen to what they're telling you. Like you said, basically they give you the thing, you do it, and give up that thing that we have as composers. Like, oh, it's got to be the greatest thing ever. It's like, yeah, get over that. That's one of my struggles.
That's getting like releasing the artistic integrity thing. And I've never been an artist type. Like I've always been a creative type. Like I've always, like I went to school. My major in school was film. I'm a film major. Like I did that stuff, but I was never like an artiste. And I never, that's never bothered me. That like I would consider myself a music designer because I'm making music for a purpose, based on client needs.
Right.
I'm not, it's not like I sit in my cave and, brood and come up with big works of art,
I think it's a younger thing. Like I was more like that when I was younger, because like you want to prove yourself or something. But like you said, some people are just like, whatever, I don't care. I'm just going to do this and that's it. And I'm happy. Like I don't need to be compared to, you pick the composer. It's like I'm just going to do my thing and make it work. And you're comfortable, you're happy, and that's a good thing. And like something that I need to, and I'm sure a lot of people need to like reevaluate and sit down and think about like that. It's like, if you want to make money, you want to make a career in music, you do not have to be amazing, because there's people out there doing it all day. You got to be effective. I think that's a better word, I guess you could say.
You've got to be disciplined and lucky.
Yeah.
I can't, I mean, I know I don't want to discourage. It's hard to give that advice without sounding discouraging. Like luck has to happen though for you to
definitely
make it usually. I mean, like people preach like you just keep trying, you'll eventually make it. And it's sad, but not everyone will.
Luck.
There are incredibly talented people, way better than me.
Oh yeah.
Who I know who just things never worked out for them. And no matter how hard they work, like, the right people never heard their music or it's sad, but you have to realize, it's humbling too. Like knowing that I'm not that great of a composer and producer, but I've been put into circumstances, that have worked for me. And I have put myself into circumstances. Some of that is, my work.
Yeah. It's all you. I mean, nobody's doing it for you,
Yeah. It's just, you have to be, when the luck happens, you have to be ready to take advantage of it.
Right.
And like, I think that was the best decision I ever made, was just on that phone call being like, okay, yeah, I'll do this. Let's sign the contract. I'll write some music. And I'm not like held to like if I don't write 5 tracks a week, I'm fired or something like that.
Right.
It's just kind of what I told them. I was like, that's just my goal, my personal goal.
That's your thing.
But,
yeah. Set
to
goals.
Keep up a good output.
Can you imagine if you like 3 years ago, you could the person you are now to go sit with that guy 3 years ago and tell him, it's like what you did and all the accomplishments. Can you imagine that conversation?
Yeah, I've thought about that before. Like, I would go back in time and be like, you should write 10 tracks a week, make it happen even faster.
Right.
But it's it's pretty amazing. I mean, what I have achieved isn't anything spectacular. Like I said,
right.
I made $30,000 in a year once. Like that's
more than I made with my music.
Yeah, that's like that's a low salary, but
I made $20, I think,
continually going up. But that's a dinner.
No, but yeah. Well, actually, it was a funny story how it happened. I have my own Discord channel that I made, so I'll invite you to it. But basically, one of my subscribers watched one of my videos, and he saw like I have my guitars over here. He's like, he knew that I play guitar, and he was in a pinch, and he's like, hey, can you do this track for me real quick? Just some underbed, ambient guitar stuff. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And of course, I'm not, I don't do this for a living, so like he wanted it in an hour. And I was like, well, dude, I have to dial in the sounds and all this stuff. It takes more than an hour, but I did what I could. And then there was like part of the track that he wanted sounds like, dude, you have way too much going on there. Like if I put guitar under there, it ain't gonna do anything. You know what I mean? It's like you're not gonna hear it anyway. So I did just a little, basically for like probably 8 seconds. I got paid $20. I mean, I was like, I probably could have charged more because he wanted to pay me by the hour, and I was like, dude, just give me $25, man. Like, it's good. I didn't deliver in an hour like you wanted it. So yeah, like you just don't know where your jobs are going to come from. And like you said, strike when the iron's hot. Like, don't say, well, I don't. Just do it. Just put yourself in the situation, even if you're scared or whatever, because you don't know what you're going to find or what you're going to learn at the outcome. Eventually, you're going to get it. You're going to nail it. I mean, it might take a little bit, but if you don't try, you won't never know,
Yeah. I did a little talk kind of along the same lines as this one at my college that I went to, like a couple months ago. My old professor had me come in and talk to one of his classes, and that was one of my big things. That was like my two main points were be confident, like even if you don't know what you're doing yet, just be confident and present yourself well. Don't There's a lot of times where I see people online sharing their music like, hey, here's my music, it sucks, but what do you think?
Right.
I'm like, come on, no, like just have some backbone.
I see that all the time. There's a right way to share your music, and then there's a wrong way, and a lot of people use the wrong way. Like they'll just blast it everywhere. You got to find like opportunities to know when to make it look like you're helping somebody, but yet you're promoting. You know what I mean? It's like that fine little kind of magic trick, and that's what I do. Like I don't really promote my YouTube channel. I don't promote my stuff, but I'll do it when I try to help somebody in a forum. I say, hey, well, I did a video. Maybe this will help you. You know what I mean? I always try to help people, and I always find that's the best, for that. So, but yeah, I mean,
it's like the most pure intentions.
Right. But like, those people, I think it's younger people, that are just getting started, and they're very excited about, writing music. I remember that, it's like, oh my God, I did a track, and like, listen to my stuff. And it's like, no one's going to listen to it. I mean, maybe one guy will, maybe one true dedicated person will, and, give you feedback. So in my Discord, I have a track feedback, just kind of like the VI Control one, and people give feedback and, stuff like that. So it's it's an extension of the YouTube channel. So,
but you should still always put the music out there because maybe that one person that listens to it is a music coordinator for a big library,
right? You never know. You never know who is listening to your tracks. You never know what they do or who they know, and that's why I said you never know where your next job's going to come from. So always be respondent and know when to attack, like you said. Know when to do that. It's very important.
YouTube is like it's hard to stand out at all. Mm-hmm. But the short film I worked on last year, like one of my favorite custom job I've ever done, favorite just like freelance for hire gig I've ever done, because that guy was a fan of my YouTube channel and then went to film school, and then like that stuff matters. I look at my YouTube views sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's nothing. I don't, maybe I'll hit the $100 threshold or whatever in a couple months and get paid or something. But then it's like, but the value is more so in getting
it's a marketing tool.
Marketing, just broadcasting so that maybe someone important will hear it, and maybe someone will like it. Yeah.
Some of my advice for composers, they're just getting started and they're not utilizing YouTube. I think what works the best is like some people just throw up their music, which they work and they have success. I've seen it. I've seen guys that just have a bunch of tracks and they have like lots of subscribers. But I think it's like you do it and I do it. Doing tutorials, so they get to know you, as a person and as a composer. So like doing live composing is really good. For me, that's the hardest. Like sitting here composing with an audience. I find is the hardest thing, because you want to be an entertainer and you want to talk to the community and stuff, but then you got to focus on writing music, and it's like, it's crazy, man. And I've crashed and burned a few times on my live streams. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm done. And
yeah.
But I think
I set up a Twitch account once, and I was like, I could do this sometime.
Right.
But never streamed it. I did just like I don't want to do live too much.
But some guys, man, they're real, like Dirk. Was it Eiler, and then Daniel James. Like, those dudes, man, they could just like an hour. They got a whole freaking track, and they're just really good. But they don't talk as much. I like to talk to the audience. I like to be communicative and help them out with questions and stuff. So I guess that could be it too. But yeah, that's what I found the worst is the live composing. But I love doing it. It's fun. It is fun. But yeah, so I just haven't had time to do one. Yeah,
the YouTube stuff's another thing I have to like convince myself
that it's important.
It's and that it's okay to do. Like,
yeah,
it's
right.
It's like, I ultimately know if I spend a couple hours, recording and editing this video of me composing a track, that's not really going to help my career much. It's
right,
just.
Right.
But I'm like, I like it. It's fun because
it's a fun thing to do.
Same thing with doing this interview is like, I just like talking about music. Like, this is fun. It's relaxing right now. I mean, I could be working right now because my daughter's at school,
right.
But
me too.
This is fine. I just like, I
just like communicating and talking with people and like I said, and doing the veil and showing how it's real. Like, you can make this a living, but it takes work and time, and and you don't have to be famous. Because like, I was in that trope when I was a kid. Oh, because the way I grew up, that's kind of how it was. This stuff wasn't. There's so much information today, and you could find out anything with the internet. And back when I was a kid, like a famous band, all you knew is whatever they put into Rolling Stone or a magazine, and that was it. Like, you didn't know who they were, and now we know too much, I think. So it's like I fell into that trope of like, oh, I got to be famous to make a living in music, and it's like, no, you don't. Like, there's guys out there never even heard of that I'm discovering, and like, oh yeah, I do this full time. This is what I do, and I've been doing it for years. It's like, I've never heard of you, but you don't need to. Like you said, because you're doing you're writing for TV, and you don't really care for that, the glory and who knows you. You just like, I just want to get paid.
Yeah. Famous people put up with a lot of crap I don't want to put up with.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of just kind of being in the shadows and
right.
The whole. I mean, I'm really really grateful I discovered the whole music library world and that side of the business, because it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everyone, just because of how it feels it's really thankless, and like it's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
Like, you have to write so much, and then it takes so much time to catch up to where the money starts to catch up.
Right.
But like, if you push past.
Yep.
Yeah. Push first. No. If you push past that first 3 years, or first 2-3 years, however long it takes. Yeah. Then it's like, hey, this is really cool. This is nice. Like, I don't have to, I'm not out client hunting all the time. Like, generally, if I'm working, I'm just writing music, because like I'm in with enough publishers that I can, I get requests, custom requests, and I can go to their website and look and see what albums they're working on and start, contribute to those. And so it's just, there's always something to do, and it's okay, and it's very rarely not fun.
Right. Like, I bet it's like probably a new day every day, something exciting, something new to do, and a new
sometimes
brief.
And nerve-wracking. Like, the first time, but it's
worth it. At the end of the day, it's worth it.
I don't want to. I won't say. I don't mean I'm having fun all the time when I'm composing. There are times where I'm just like, oh god, I need to get these done.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do these, but I have to.
But at the end of the day, if someone told you, hey, tomorrow you have to go back to that job that you were working and sit in that cubicle, you'd be like, I'm going to go get those done.
Yep, I'm going to go write the music.
Yeah, I'm going to go write that music, because I ain't sitting in that cubicle again.
It's funny you say the cubicle thing, because at my old full-time job, I had my own office for a long time at first, and then like a couple months before I quit, like a couple months right before it was actually probably about 1 month before I got my first ever royalty check, I got moved into a cubicle. And I was just like, this is it.
Yep, this is it.
I'm out of here, man. This, and then the check was $200. I was like,
nope, we're stuck here for another 6 months.
Well, I still quit anyway. I went part-time, found a part-time job instead.
That's awesome, man. I mean, your story's great, and it's real. You're not making this stuff up. You actually lived it, and I know, because we've talked, many times in the past about it, and because I've been looking myself to. My right now is like freelancing, and then I want to like sort of bring music into making, because I know it's going to take time. It ain't like tomorrow I'm going to be making money. No, it's going to, like you said, it takes a year just to see your return on the things that you've done last year. So that's my goal for the future, is to transition and have multiple sources of income. So like, is that what you're trying to do now that you've kind of, or you just got enough and you're good with what you do?
I'm always looking for new publishers, new people to write for. I mean, right now most of my eggs are in one basket, and that's not a great, that it's smart, just business wise to keep
have
spread
multiple.
Out. Like, I didn't have time to work for. I mean, it was taking up all my time just working a day job and then writing my 5 tracks a week for that one publisher.
But now that
now that I'm free of the day job, I've been, spreading out my music to more publishers, and I'm after we hang up here, I'm going to be starting a new track for first track for a brand new publisher I've never worked with before. So I'm always trying to do that. I do a little. I contribute at samplelibraryreview.com and write sample library reviews. That's just a little, couple $100 here and there.
I've seen a few of yours. I didn't know you did that, and I like, oh, he's doing that. Cool,
Yeah, it's good, and the software, being able to get the software to review for free is
ever
nice.
Gonna use.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what's your favorite sample? Like, what's your go-to sample libraries? Like, what do you like the most?
My favorite thing in existence is Omnisphere.
Me too.
Spectrasonics, Omnisphere too. And I have Omnisphere, and I have a couple of expansions for it that are really like tailored for that modern.
Do you use the unfinished?
Cinematic.
Unfinished.
No, I have the mid dissonance.
Okay.
Omnisphere bundle, and then like Omnisphere Signia.
Okay.
From someone else. I don't have them finished.
You should check them out, man. They're good.
I've heard really good things. That's one of the things I'll always come back to is like I don't remember last time I wrote a track without Omnisphere in it. Like, I got it as a gift, and then I just have it. What is so integral to my workflow. I know. Yeah,
it's awesome, dude. I love it, and I'm starting to utilize it more myself, because I was kind of those guys that like I can't have synths, because I'm from like the old.
I use orchestra.
Yeah, I use the orchestra sample libraries, but now it's like like you said, you just gotta get over it, man. Like you just gotta just do it. Just do whatever. Like throw stuff on there and don't be ashamed of it, because that's the world we live in right now. That's the music we live, that we're hearing. There's synths. I mean, there was synths in those old scores in the 80s. You just got to listen very carefully. Goldsmith was using it. Williams has even used synths on scores. So it's not a bad thing.
That was a little bit of something I had too before. My background was, in high school. I was in band. We didn't have an orchestra, but we had wind ensemble and marching band. And I played clarinet and all that stuff. Cool. So like anything electronic was totally like, what? Like, it made no sense to me.
Right,
but then
me too.
Once I started implementing that stuff into my orchestra work, I was like, this is fun. And now honestly, I use the orchestra very rarely now. Like most of the stuff I do is, I've done a lot of pop and hip hop, and then I've kind of like built a niche in my main TV publisher where I'm kind of the modern cinematic go-to guy, where I handle most of that stuff. So I'm writing a lot of tracks that are just all synths and sound design and percussion, not a lot of orchestra stuff. But I do, since you were asking about sample libraries, like I used LA Scoring Strings Lite for a long time, and with Cinebrass Core. And for the woodwinds, I don't use them much. Like I use woodwinds sometimes in like comedy tracks that I'm writing for TV. Yeah. And a lot of times I would just go to the Contact Factory library for those. And but now I've gotten more stuff that since I've been reviewing, and like I have Albion 1 now, which is amazing for library writing, quick writing, because it's like ensemble, really good smooth ensemble patches and those cool loops and synths that they have. Great for for adding motion into library tracks.
But that's funny you say Contact Factory. It's like, see, people, you can still make money from using Contact Factory instruments. There's some good stuff in there. That thing has
saved me. Like, I have used so much Contact Factory library in my TV tracks. Like, so there's so many times where I get a brief and I'm like, I don't have this instrument. Wait, dig through Contact. Like, there is a bagpipe in here.
Yep.
You
just have to get good with your production skills, but you can make those sound pretty good. Yeah, I mean, they're not like
you can make them sound good enough. Good enough for background in a reality TV show.
For TV music, definitely. But I tell people all the time, and I get smirks, or I get like, what factory library? What? Who the hell uses that? I was like, dude, you'd be surprised how many guys use that. Man, there's some good stuff in there. You just gotta go through it, and then use a good reverb and stuff like that. That's my weak point is production. I think a lot of composers is production because we don't really tend to do that. But what you do, like you have to have the production chops.
It's
right?
all in one, definitely. Yeah, like all composing, mixing, and mastering all in one session. You know, like
right.
I don't bounce stuff to audio because I don't have time. Like I don't have time to do that. Like I have to mix the MIDI tracks, put Ozone and some mastering stuff on the master.
I just got Ozone, dude. That's oh man.
I got Ozone 8 elements. Just the that's a trend with me. I have a lot of the like light versions of.
That's all you need, really.
Stuff.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's still like the limiter on that thing is incredible. It does things that I don't know how it like. I can feed it like the loudest thing in the world, and it holds everything down.
Yep.
But you can't tell. Like it doesn't
feel
like it does. Yeah. It's amazingly transparent.
It is. Like I put it on one of my tracks. I just like, hey, I'm gonna throw it on the track and just choose one preset. And I was like, holy crap! Like my it just sounds so much better. Like everything sounds more clear and more defined. I was like, wow, I've been missing this. I was like, I've got to bought this.
Yeah, it's the Sound Goodizer plugin.
That thing is amazing. Yeah,
it's pretty magical.
I want to learn it more, and I want to do a couple of videos on it because a lot of people in my community were asking me about it. And I said, yeah, I just got Ozone. Like, oh, do a video on that. And I'm like, well, I can't do it justice right now. Yeah, I was like, I don't even know it, man. I just put it on my track, and it made my track sound awesome. So
yeah, the elements. I don't really use presets in Elements version. I made my own preset.
Okay.
Where I just kind of like that. I mean, what I'm using it for is basically just for like some stereo width stuff.
Yeah.
And then the limiter.
Yeah.
And the EQ, the master. I like the mid side EQ mode.
Okay.
So I can so I can cut out some of the lows on the side and stuff like that, and keep
I just got it like probably a month ago, so I haven't really dove in, but I've seen all those stuff in there. But just what I said, like from the one thing I put in there and I put like the mastering preset, I was blown away. I mean, I was like, now I see why these trailer guys have these big tracks, it's like, this is what they're using, plus probably more stuff. But, just from that one little plugin, I'm like, wow.
And, whether you like it or not, the mastering does matter for stuff, because it's like, if someone listens to one of your tracks and one of somebody else's, if yours is louder, it's almost always going to make them feel like, oh yeah, like
that's better.
Whether it actually is or not, it's just like, oh, this is louder.
Isn't that weird how that happens? Like it's, I've heard that, and I've been a victim of that. It's like, well, that sounds so good, but then you start listening to the music and you're like, well, it's not really that good, but it just sounds good. And that's what people are.
That's something that composers don't know. Is mixing and mastering is it's very important. That's what affects normal people more than, I mean, you could argue it affects people more than like the notes themselves.
Right. It does.
Some people are just like, if you play this, play a great melody, fantastic, theme, but it sounds all limp and it's going to be hard to get people to care about it.
Right. But if you got those banging drums going, man, the choirs, the strings, they're like, I love that. That's awesome.
That's what us common folk like. I mean, like I'm not, I look at some people and call them snobs. I mean, some people like just way into the older, the old masters, your John Williams and your Goldsmiths and Bernard Herrmann and stuff like that. Which they're great. I acknowledge their skill, but like, it's just never been my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been, the more
You're the common man. Common man composer.
I feel like I have more common man taste. Except I don't ever listen to pop music ever. But like, I listen to pop music like in the car. My wife is playing her Spotify playlist, and she shows me stuff. And sometimes, but like, I have some pop people I like. Ed Sheeran's great. Lorde, and I really like, mostly old Maroon 5, but
I like pop music. You can learn a lot from pop music because I don't know. I think you've taken Verda's classes, right? Mike Verda's classes. Oh, you haven't? Well, he really preaches that, and because like if you learn the structure of pop music and to hook people, like if you want to hook somebody, that pop music does it right away, and it's very useful. And a lot of people, composers, downturn pop, like that's not music. It's like, yeah, but you can learn a lot from it. If you want to reach an audience and have fans, that's how you do it. Try to incorporate those elements into your track. So
it's just part of the whole letting go of the artistic thing and embracing simple and effective. Because
simple is good, especially for music. Simple, the better. And patterns.
And then the thing with pop music is that it's all very well produced. Yep. And like what you're saying again, that matters to people. Like that's what they hear.
Not to
And
composers,
that's what,
but to the people you're composing the music to. You know, like your audience. Know
They
your
care.
audience.
They
you know?
care. They want to hear they want
bass,
to sound great.
They want to hear those strings, you know, they want to hear that rosin on the string, you know, all that stuff. And then they want to hear that banging percussion. Which I can never do, man. I'm trying so hard, but it's a lot of compression, and I'm guessing. That's what I said.
Percussion is like, I love it, but I hate it because it's
hard
always
to get
a big fight with me.
Yeah, you're fighting with it all the time.
Because it's like, it needs to be loud and punchy, but then I also now it's
I can't hear the melody.
Now the compressor is hyperactive because the drums are pushing it so hard,
or I can't hear the strings, or I can't hear this because all I hear is dun, 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 you know. It's a nightmare, and I mean, I'm sure you've gotten better, but you know, you're not where you want to be. But that's where I fail, man. Like it's like if I was going to do this as a profession, all my tracks would probably get rejected because they're not, like you said, bombastic. And do you find that that's what separates you from getting a job is the production sometimes? Do you think?
A lot of times, like I've had plenty of rejection from libraries because my tracks just aren't as produced as, you know, like I'll be competing with people that have songs on the radio and stuff,
right?
You know,
yeah.
And like, well, I'm never gonna match that. So,
do you ever study those songs? Like, do you listen to them and kind of compare? Or
sometimes, yeah, not as often as I should, probably, because I'm always like, well, I should just write what I can write.
Right.
I need to be writing. Why am I not writing right now?
Right.
The story of my life. Like, why am I not writing music right now?
Right. Like right now, you're probably getting, what the hell? I need to get off this. I need to go write. You're getting shaky.
Yeah, I haven't written music in too long.
Yeah. I get that too, man. Like, but I don't do it for a profession. So it's like, if I don't do it, it's like, okay, whatever, I'll get to it next week. But like, if I don't write for a while, I get cranky and like get moody, you know. It's like, I got to go do something. Like, I got to go be creative. And so, yeah, I totally get that. But I guess if you're doing it for a job, you're kind of exercising that muscle, and it's kind of a habit. You're like, you just don't feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I get that.
And I live for that feeling of relaxing and playing a video game after I've done
accomplished something.
Like, after,
it's a reward.
Like I want to wake up in the morning, work as much as I can, and then
I want to go play that video game because I earned it. Yeah, exactly.
I very much have to earn it, like in my own head. I mean, no one's enforcing this. It's not like my wife is saying, "Hey, why aren't you working?" You know, it's just me.
You got to be disciplined. To be an entrepreneur, you know, work for yourself, you have to be very, very disciplined. I mean, it takes discipline because it's so easy to get distracted, especially if you're working from home. It's like, I'll just go sit on the couch and go watch a movie. Sorry. You know, go sit on the couch and go watch a movie. You know, it's so easy. It's like, 'cause, hey, nobody's gonna come over here and tell me I can't. You know, so yeah, definitely. That's a good advice. You have to be very, very well disciplined. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. So where can people find you on the web or wherever, whatever you want to promote?
My own website is just Steven McDonald, Steven with a V, StevenMcDonaldMusic.com.
Okay.
I have a YouTube channel too, but I think it has some weird name, so I'll just
I'll
send you the link or something. You can link it in the description. But don't expect much. I make like a video once every few months when I feel like when I have something I want to make a video over. When I have time, I just
you got some good ones up there. I've watched them. You had I remember you had a couple tutorials that I watched. It was production stuff. I think you did a couple, didn't you?
Yeah, just kind of tutorials, more of just like here's what I did on this track, just because it's fun to show off the stuff that you did and like little tricks. But yeah, most of the time I like to make those kinds of videos, but I don't.
Right.
I haven't made one in a long time just because I'm trying to work and raise a little kid.
Understood,
little daughter.
Man.
But,
Understood. Yeah, I've seen the video. I remember when you uploaded the walkthrough one. I remember that one. It was like 20 minutes long or something like that, I think, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago, so it's not really there. But I remember you doing it because I remember watching it, and I was like, oh, cool. Because I remember you put it in, I think you put it in the VI Discord channel. So
yeah, probably.
All right. Well, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, man. It's been great. And I've learned a lot, actually, you know, about being a library and, you know, that stuff, which is something I want to get into. And I'm sure everybody on my channel will find it. So definitely go check out Steven's stuff if you can.
All right. Thanks, Todd. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. Take care.
All right. Take it easy.
Yep.